Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today with Cognition360, transforming ConnectWise data into actionable insights and how we're going to mine for gold using ConnectWise data. So thank you all for attending. I see we still got a few people coming in. First off, thanks for signing up. We had a great turnout. It looks like we had about 86 people sign up for this webinar today. So I hope that you're going to find it super valuable. And we'll want to turn it over to Bjorn here in just a second to get started. Before I do that, I would like to do a little poll just to get us started here. So I'm going to launch that poll now. If you could just answer that, and we'll give everybody a few minutes to still come in and then answer that poll for us. So you should see that poll now. If you could just answer those questions for us. See results coming in. All right. All right, so it looks like the majority of you, we got about half and half wanting to get more knowledge of Cognition360. Some of you want to solve a problem, hear from your MSP peers, which we've got some great ones on here. Yeah, so that's it on that. We'll end the poll now. And wanted to start with introducing Bjorn Zreloff. Bjorn and I have known each other for quite some time now. We were actually ConnectWise facilitators together. So thank you, Bjorn, for offering to facilitate this. Bjorn is a great facilitator overall. We want this to be conversational, and we want you to get out of it what you came for. So we will also have a Q&A. There is a Q&A. If you have any questions, feel free to put those in there. We might answer them as we were going, and then also at the end, we're going to leave some time for Q&A there. So Bjorn, I'm going to go ahead and turn everything over to you.
Thanks, Christy. Really grateful to be here with you all, panelists, attendees, and everybody else that's hearing it somewhere. You know, I really have been grateful for the connection that I've had with Cognition360 and ConnectWise for a long time. And getting the data out of the system has always been an interesting journey for me personally, and also the folks that I've worked with over the years. And before we get into it, I'd love for our panelists to introduce themselves a little bit and that background, maybe focus on how long you've been on Cognition360, and sort of, yeah, a little bit about your data journey to this point. So why don't we start with Brad?
Hello, everyone. I'm Brad Bourtell. I'm Chief Operating Officer at Velocity Network. We are an MSP, an internet service provider, a voice service provider, and also a fiber optic service provider up in Erie, Pennsylvania. We have been using Cognition360 for about 8 months right now. We migrate off another platform that we were using, and then also a lot of spreadsheets and manual data gathering and data production for us here internally. We've been on ConnectWise since 2003, so we're one of the pioneers and early adopters, and we're looking forward to being able to share some of our experiences and how Cognition360 has helped improve our operations.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Brad. Kevin, why don't you go next?
All right. Hey, guys. I'm Kevin Fraser, the owner of Eola Technology Partners out of Orlando, Florida. We've been using ConnectWise from day one, April 1st. Actually, next week will be 13 years in business. Started up with Cognition last year just to get better data, to be able to react to what's going on in the business and the reality of what's happening in day to day. So happy to be here. Always looking to learn from others as well.
Awesome, Kevin. Glad you're here. Trevor, last but not least.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Trevor Turner. I'm the Director of IT for RK Black out of Oklahoma City. We're a regional-based company that is most well-known as a copier organization, but about 13 years ago, we kind of transitioned into more of a technology company. We've been on ConnectWise for almost 7 years now and been with Cognition now for about 3.5 months, and can't wait to see what the future holds for them and as we continue to mine for that data.
Awesome. Glad you're here. Thanks, everybody, for a quick intro. And like Christy said, we'll have some time for questions at the end. But if you want to pop in chat questions, Christy's going to monitor that. So in preparation for this, I got to hang out with Brad and Kevin and Trevor a little bit, and we got to share little bit of, data, data analytics. Analytics sounds like a really highfalutin word, but I think, just doing some analyzing and why do we do it? Why do we do data analytics? And so that we can make better decisions, hopefully have some actionable insights. And I think that each of them, we've kind of through that conversation came up with some, I would call them almost use cases of how you're leveraging Cognition 360 right now, each of you, and how that relates to, I think, probably use cases that most organizations, especially IT service companies or TSPs, whatever you want to call it, can relate to. I think, Brad, if you don't mind kicking us off, what you talked about a little bit as we practiced here was your work from home sort of solution when we were forced to go into that. If you weren't already doing it, you kind of had to figure that out pretty quickly last year. So would you mind sort of sharing a little bit about, that whole journey for you and your organization?
Sure, and I'm sure I speak for the many people who are on the call right now in terms of March, and it's hard to believe it's been a year already, but March, April, where, we had to uproot our staffs, and where they were working from, have them working from home, and then having to support our clients, all in a flurry. We had expanded our shifts. We had technicians working till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, setting up VPNs for remote connectivity for our clients. But the thing that Cognition started bringing out to us, and we were just getting in the process of onboarding with them, and the data we started looking at started driving some of the things that, in terms of balancing out the workload. When you move everyone to the home, right now we're actually probably about 40% back here in the office. Our dispatchers, our operations coordinators, they can't see who's working. They just look at the board, and you live in the service board. If you're a dispatcher, or you're a service manager, you're living in the service board. You're losing track of, how many tickets did this person get? How many tickets did this person get? Is she overworked? Is he underworked? So we utilize Cognition to start bringing us into daily dashboards that we're making sure that certain technicians are not taking on too many tickets because it's easy. They're at home, hey, give me more tickets. It's, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, and you're burning out those technicians. And then the others who are, potentially getting less tickets because they're just not the squeaky wheel. They're taking whatever tickets you give them, but you don't know if that balance is working out. So we use Cognition to start showing us and sharing it with the team as to how many tickets each technician was doing, what their productivity levels were, not from trying to judge one or another, but create a balance so that everyone felt that they were pulling the same amount, doing the same amount for our customers, and providing that high level of service.
Fantastic. So utilization is a word that's been used a long time, and I think that's maybe a little misunderstood, or everybody has different interpretations of what that is. But it sounds like we're always, as long as we have technicians, as long as we have human beings, ideally you have some data to help you manage them, especially when they're out of sight, out of mind, so to speak, right? So I think this is applicable in many different scenarios. So we can certainly get into some more detail as far as how, maybe we get into that further, how Cognition 360 is different versus the tools you've used in the past. So why don't we put that on pause for a second? We'll come back to that. And we'll go to Kevin now. Kevin, you talked about something that's near and dear to my heart when I was part of an IT service provider, but then also as I've worked with other organizations, is the daily march, right? Sort of the daily, what are we going to focus on? I mean, IT changes all the time. It's very dynamic. How are we going to be operationally efficient? How are we going to be operationally focused? And what do we choose to focus on? So how, you don't mind talking about what you have done with Cognition with one of your key resources, right? Every day.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I sit down on a daily basis every morning with my director of operations, and we review numbers from the previous day. And so we look at just kind of where were we, what adjustments we need to make. We're trying to figure out before we run into that wall, correct our course, if you will. So we live out of several Cognition reports, the ticket KPIs, the ticket daily stats, team utilization, and then we kind of build our own spreadsheet from there, which we're working on maybe a dashboard as well at some point. But, just to really figure out and react in a more timely manner. And so Cognition's really changed that game for us. Getting that data prior to reusing Cognition was just a much more of a time effort, like we're having to sit down and really go get the numbers from different places. And so for me, when I explain cognition to people now, I say that you can mow your own yard or you can hire a lawn service. And to me, you're mowing your own yard, but you're trying to get data out of ConnectWise and other tools. And cognition is that lawn service for us. So we're able to sit down, pull up Power BI and look at a couple key reports in a matter of minutes.
I like it. I haven't heard you stuck that analogy in. I didn't know that analogy. Mowing the lawn. All right. All right. Well, I have to throw that to the marketing department at Cognition and see what they think about that. All right. Well, perfect. So it's the daily march. That's great. And again, this is nothing. None of this is rocket science, right? This is not rocket surgery or whatever you want to call it, right? So, but it's really what are the nuances within cognition. And again, maybe we can drill in some detail there in a minute about why is cognition different than anything you've used in the past. That keeps coming back to me. So we'll move on to Trevor, if you don't mind. Trevor, you have another key area especially for MSPs. Hopefully a lot of you have lots of recurring revenue that you're dealing with. Revenue is only part of the equation, right? So the other side of that coin is for agreement profitability, you got to make sure you manage your costs. And what you talked about was a little bit of, how you're using Cognition360 to manage that side of the equation. Would you mind kind of telling us that story a little bit?
Absolutely. So prior to Cognition, we were really struggling to understand what our cost per user that we supported actually was. And it was a very tedious process to try to come to a number, and it took a lot of time. With Cognition, we were able to actually, in a matter of minutes, pull a couple reports and do some quick math and come to an actual cost per user that we support and span that out over a period of time. That might have been a year. I want to look at, for the last year, what is my cost per user? Now, let's take that for the previous year and look at it and see if that cost is changing. Because what we should be seeing, depending on our growth, is we want to see our cost per user actually coming down because we're being efficient and we're doing things better. And we're putting tools like Cognition in place that actually help with those efficiencies. So that was a huge part for us. It was also the common issues side. So understanding your type, subtype, and item reports to and how that relates to your cost. Are you spending too much time in certain areas or with certain problems and you're not getting to the root of the problem? I always talk about with my team that, it's one thing to just get in every day and be a technician and work tickets and work hard, but it's another thing to actually come into the office and think about what is the root problem here and how can we fix that so I don't have to do this tomorrow, or I don't have another user within this organization that I'm doing this for tomorrow. So those common issues reports and really the cost analysis helps us put a lot of things together to understand where our time's being spent and where our money's being spent from a company standpoint.
The money side, right? Yeah, profitability. It's not just the revenue, it's profitability that we're driving towards. A healthy profitability margin, hopefully. That's great. No, that's perfect. So Brad, why don't we come back to you on and all these things are related, right? I mean, you got people, you got process and technology. And from my perspective, people was and still is the most rewarding and the most challenging part of managing a business or raising kids or life in general. But I mean, when you talk about an IT service provider, technicians have a certain wiring, salespeople have a certain wiring, so it's in accounting people have a certain wiring, stereotypically. But I think on the technician side, Brad, if you can talk a little bit more in depth, what did Cognition360, is there a specific scenario that you came up with where I think you mentioned that some folks kind of bubbled to the surface who were doing well in the work from home scenario, and some people bubbled to the surface they weren't doing so well. So have you taken any specific actions on the Cognition360 results or information that you've got, nice, gold that you were able to use, right?
Yeah, the numbers, told a story that we would have never thought, especially given the pandemic and everyone, heading home, is, there were some technicians that were struggling with that change, whether it's the situation at home and, like with me, I had 3 kids at home from school and, you've got dogs barking in the background, you're trying to stay focused, and then you're trying to make up for lost time by maybe working later or picking up extra tickets, and going through these reports and trying to figure out, who is doing what, or maybe someone's being barraged with a certain customer with a certain type of problem. I know Kevin and Trevor both kind of alluded to that, is trying to make sure that if we're doing the same thing, we've lost that communication internally. You can have teams, we could be chatting as a team. If you don't hear that problem here going on in the office, and you can start looking at these reports, and you look in the morning and go, wow, we had 50 Sonic Wall VPN setup issues. Like, what's going on here? Is it a problem with the software? Is it a certain client that's not doing things properly, or MFA that's driving us nuts with Office 365? And try to fix those things in advance so it's not putting undue stress on the technical support side. But to your point, in terms of the employees that would bubble up to the surface in times like this, or the ones that they're just trying to figure out how they can just survive everything that's going on right now. The data helped us kind of pull out and seeing that, hey, there's some people here, even your rock stars are struggling. Let's pull them aside. Let's have a call. Let's figure out what's going on. And it's not just about the tickets. It's not about the workload. We know that, the human side of this is a big part of it. Making sure that our employees are healthy in terms of what's going on. And hey, you know what? Take a half day today, or you start a little later. Take an extra hour for lunch. Take your, go pick up something, get some DoorDash, take some extra time. So I think that's one thing that having the data lets you bring the human aspect back into this too. It's not always about the numbers, but how those numbers apply to the people that work for you.
Right. No, that's very well said. I think our hopefully everybody's compassion has gotten a little bit greater here over the last year. And so Kevin, picking up on that, you're looking at data from people, and one of the things that is talked about frequently in data analytics or data in general or systems and processes is, garbage in, garbage out, GIGO. How long what was sort of your journey to get from dirty data, if you will, to clean data in Cognition, to where you were looking at data that made sense to you and the confidence to drill in and look at stuff and say, yeah, that actually makes sense. Maybe talk about that a little bit in those three reports that you're
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's an endless journey, right? I don't know that we're ever really there.
Yeah.
But I would say that, the first 30, 60 days was definitely quite a feat, because you're also changing I wouldn't say bad habits, but you're changing people's behaviors and habits. So really focused on that is, putting in, and outside of Cognition, just putting in ticket templates, end of day procedures. People had to review their tickets, type, subtype, et cetera. And then we're following up on it and messaging the folks, directly talking to them, counseling them, et cetera. So, I would say it's that we were a solid at least 90 days before we felt like we're even at a point where it's worth looking at this data, to be honest. Like, we had some level of confidence in what we're seeing. But it's an ongoing effort. You feel like you get them all corralled, and then two are running off this direction, and so you're always reining them back in. But definitely, the key is good data in, for sure.
And that's part of your daily march, right? If you stop shining the light on that situation, things will start spreading again. And Trevor, you have a counterpart that was with us last time that talked about, I think he had a phrase for it, now I'm forgetting it, but basically visibility leads to accountability, right? Is what he said, right? In your organization. And it sounded like you have a culture around that and kind of shining the light on a situation, keeping the light on it. So behavior changes, right? Continuous improvement. Can you speak to that a little bit, how Cognition is plugged in, or how you're hoping to use it maybe to help you down that journey of visibility leads to accountability?
Absolutely. I think it's just knowing and understanding your data. We've actually, with us being on it for 3.5 months, we've had an actual relatively easy journey getting accustomed to it. We were doing some of the things that really just kind of worked in our favor for what Cognition was already set up for. So it made that transition really easy. And I would say with that, we were able to show our team the value of why we were wanting that visibility. I think from a technical side, these guys a lot of times think about everything being micromanaged because you want all this data, right? And that's not the case at all. It's about making business decisions and understanding what's going on behind the scenes so that we can continue to improve or raise the bar. And that's been a big theme for my team over the last years. We want to continue to raise the bar. We want to be better than everyone else. And to do that, you have to have the visibility. You have to have the data to make sure that you're leading your team in the right direction and that you're noticing problems, hopefully before they become an actual fire. And that's part of us being an MSP. You know, we all want to be proactive in everything. So getting that data, being able to do something with it in real time makes a big difference before a fire happens and you're actually trying to be too reactive to the situation.
That's very well said. We are in proactive management. That's what we sell to our customers. So hopefully we're using that methodology internally as well. So I guess another key question is maybe, Brad, talk about your journey and why not use some other, why have you landed on Cognition360 in this part of your journey, as opposed, not necessarily talking about other tools in the past, but just why did you say, yep, it makes sense to do Cognition360 at this point in our journey?
I mean, from using ConnectWise from 2003 and the limited reporting, and still a lot of the limited reporting we have now, it's that whole accountability standpoint. Is what is the most streamlined way that we can take data, verify the data is good, because that's a problem we've had no matter what products. And I just saw a chat question come up about BrightGauge. BrightGauge is great. We use that for dashboards, and we use it to have some nice KPIs up on our screens that no one's here watching because they're not in the office right now. But from the accountability we've built with, the reason we went to Cognition is we could build Power BI reports now that I can share in Office 365 that our employees can have access to readily to drill in, because the numbers update nightly, and they can hold themselves accountable. And we can drill into those things. And then techs can go and look and say, hey, my numbers don't look right here. And they can click on it and drill right through the data in Power BI. We didn't have any of that capability before. And I think having that accountability, but then allowing our employees and team members in the different teams to go in and drill into the data, not just go, to manager, this data is not right, something's wrong, I don't know how this happened. And simply just to go in and see, hey, I typoed, I put 8 hours in for a time entry and not 8 minutes, those things happen. So I think a lot of our employees have really liked being able to have that interaction in the data. And that's really has kind of led us to where we were today. Is ConnectWise did not let us do that.
Yeah.
There's no place for that. And we have that with Cognition.
That's a good point. The Office 365 integration, or just the 365 stack.
Yep.
I don't have it, full understanding of it, but I do have an appreciation for it, that it's all quote unquote integrated in that stack. And the fact that the data has been offloaded from the ConnectWise database instance into, a data warehouse that is in the Azure, as I understand it, to some level. It's in the 365 world versus over here in the ConnectWise world, right? I worked with an organization for a while that literally, it was wild, wild west of reporting, right? And when somebody would hit the database with not a very efficient SQL statement, they go straight into the ConnectWise database, literally the lights would flicker and ConnectWise would stall out, and so somebody was running a report. So there's that aspect as well, right? Yep. So Kevin, what about your journey? And I see some questions here about BrightGauge and so forth, and transition from BrightGauge. Mm-hmm. I'm not the best person to answer that, but Kevin, do you have any experience in what they're asking here? Or do you want to hit those?
Yeah, no, happy to. I mean, and like Brad said, we also still have a subscription to BrightGauge, although we are trying to cut that off any day now. More so use it for dashboards and customer-facing reports, but we're trying to transition that over to Cognition as well. The biggest thing, like why we moved, was because it is Power BI. It's the accessibility of the data, the ability to get to it from an iPhone, an iPad, any computer with web access. It's just hard to do that with some of these other devices. And then it's also, it kind of goes back to the analogy, and I think that's the second question that I saw pop up in chat. Why not do it yourself in Power BI? It's the lawn service analogy, right? Yes, you can do all this, but why? Because you have a service for a very reasonable fee that provides and puts it right at your fingertips. And then also, Cognition's constantly developing and maturing their product based on feedback from folks like us. And so we're benefiting from our peers. Someone else is using a report or looking at a metric that we may not have ever thought about. but now it's introduced and we start to think about how that might help us and run our business as well.
Right.
So I mean, there's a community aspect of this as well. I think that, you know, we don't get by rolling it on your own, if you will. So that's our journey. I mean, like I said, we've used ConnectWise reporting, we've used BrightGauge, you know, we've tried a couple of other tools and on top of that too, but it's just not worth it. You know, Cognition puts it right there for you.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the couple of words that stick out are the drillability of the data, and then also the length of time, the trending over a longer period of time. Yes. Those are two things that I certainly jumped in on or felt. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. And Trevor, you're relatively new to Cognition360. Do you mind sharing sort of why Cognition360 at this point in your journey?
Absolutely. So I can actually touch on a couple of the questions that our viewers have had as well on BrightGauge, because we actually use BrightGauge for a few years. And I would say the first thing that I like to talk about is BrightGauge gives you some canned information that works for you, but the implementation side still falls a lot on yourself if you really want to start drilling in and finding the data. With Cognition, I didn't have to put in that work. I mean, from the very minute that I had access to the reports, I was amazed at the information that I had at my fingertips, and I didn't have to do the work, or someone on my team didn't have to do the work. And that was a big benefit to me, because obviously that's an additional cost. So I think it's far superior in that aspect. I also think that Cognition's overall look and feel feels more professional. Just if I'm in front of a client and I'm actually showing them this information. And then Bjorn, you actually hit the nail on the head with the length of reporting. When I want to start looking at trending, I can't do that in BrightGauge. You know, I think I've got 270 days or something like that. I needed a longer time frame there to really start comparing metrics to understand if we're trending in the right direction, because it's key to our business to make sure that everything's trending in the right direction. Otherwise, we're going to get way behind. And sometimes by the time you notice it, it's too late. You're really way behind at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when you're doing sort of trend analysis and looking into some anomalies, right, in that trend potentially, and you're saying, hey, why did this dip happen here? Or, you know, what's going on here? Then I want to be able to drill in right there and okay, the data that's telling me this dip, why is it telling me? Why is this happening? And so I can start developing, that's that root cause analysis, right? Root cause analysis, so that I can then go do some corrective action in my organization. Yeah, I think that, yeah, it's pretty powerful in that regard. Any other questions out there? I know we're right at the bottom of the hour, Christy, so I don't know if you've, are we seeing all the questions in the chat?
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, we've had a few questions come in, and I have been answering those live as we're going. So answered most of those that were in the Q&A. We do have a few other ones here. We did have one that just came in. Let's see, would my data from tickets open this morning be available now, or would I need to wait until tomorrow to get the data on what's going on today? So somebody else had that same question. So with Cognition360, it is a data warehouse. So we're going to, you know, the data that we're looking at, we're going to take snapshots through the day, and then we're going to send an update overnight. So everything's ready for you the next day. So it's more looking at it from like your analytical management reporting. We do have a product called Cognition Live. It's kind of like a slice onto Cognition360. Currently, that's available to on-prem users. And then we are working currently to get that pushed out to all of our cloud partners as well. So hopefully that will be available soon to cloud. And that's where you're going to get that real-time data on the service side for dispatching, to see that to the second, so you know how many tickets are coming in, who's working on them, what priority level tickets that different engineers have. There's a dispatch view. So the live data that we have currently is really just focused on the service side. That's what a lot of our partners have asked for, that they said, hey, all this reporting is great, but we do need this live version for that service side. So it is a huge initiative to make sure we can get that all pushed out successfully to all of our partners. And Trevor, you're using that currently, right? The
Yes,
Cognition Live data?
Yes, we are using the live data.
Yeah.
So I see one of the questions that come in from Stephen, it looks like that they use BrightGauge for some of their live dashboarding now. We're using Cognition360 for our live dashboarding now as well. So some of that just goes back to, what you want to see in the canned information that comes with Cognition Live was really beneficial on looking at how the service technicians, how many tickets each of them had. Brad was talking about that and really being able to balance the load of work that you have for your service team.
Yeah. Go ahead, Christy.
We have another question. Thanks, Trevor. We are a UK business, and there are challenges with sharing data with US businesses. Do you have a UK entity to contract with? So what we do, we have different databases kind of all over. We've got, I think, currently 7 different databases. So with our UK data, it would be housed over in that UK area. Does that answer the question? Let me know if you need more. Let's see what else we have here. So Stephen, let's see, we've got some of that BrightGauge stuff. Is it compatible with in-house ConnectWise Manage? So currently we do work with on-prem ConnectWise and cloud ConnectWise. We have our reporting works with either one. There is a little bit of a different setup depending if you're cloud or on-prem. We've also got it to where ConnectWise is currently always doing updates. So when those updates happen, that also doesn't affect your data. We've got all that figured out to where our data still flows through for you the next day if there is an update.
Yeah, the questions that are coming in about client side, did you want me to touch upon Streamline IT?
Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So, these are some really good questions here. One of the things that we found that was really powerful with Cognition360 that wasn't our original intent, but it kind of came out of our business reviews with our clients, especially ones that we do co-managed IT, or I still call it downstream IT in ConnectWise land, but apparently it's Streamline IT now. So I'm dating myself with the name of the service. But we've been able to create and work with the team at Cognition to create customizable reports for each customer so that they can see not only our work that we've done, that's part of their managed service agreement if we just do their IT exclusively, but then we also are providing custom reports that show their employees. So if it's a school or a school district that has 3 or 4 employees and they co-manage IT with us, we can provide their supervisors, their decision makers with what their employees are doing, and then and basically break it down to your type, subtype item, turnaround time, all those different things. And we've created custom reports that we've given to them in Power BI, so they can log in, see those reports, share them with their own staff, which they have access to as well. We make sure that if we do any co-managed services, those downstream technicians have the same reports that we do. And it's been really powerful in doing business reviews or showing the value of what we're providing as an IT provider on the streamlined co-managed IT type service that we're seeing a lot more picking up here in the past year than we've done in the past. So it's really, really helpful for us.
Yeah, so interesting, because I think the whole concept of being able to provide this as business intelligence as a service or data analytics as a service, that's a whole nother potential that I think is out there. Getting back to some of these questions though about doing technology business reviews or technology quarterly business reviews, whatever they're called. Trevor or Kevin, are you using Cognition? Let's start with Trevor. In that respect or in that way.
Yes, we are using it for that. So it actually comes out of the box with a couple of different reports pre-built that has a lot of the valuable information that you want to go over with your clients. And then we have some additional stuff in Power BI that we've built out. It's just like our SWOT analysis and different things that we add to that for our business technology reviews, but we are using it for that. It's been very beneficial. I love the feature of being in front of the client, presenting directly from Power BI, and then actually being able to drill in the data. If they have a question about a ticket they want to understand why that ticket took so long or whatever, you have the data right there and it's all linked into ConnectWise. So you can open the ticket directly within ConnectWise and actually show why some of that stuff is happening. So it's been very powerful for us.
Awesome. Awesome. Kevin, what about you? Are you leveraging that as well? Or?
So we're not actually using we're not using the built-in report yet. Our goal is to begin using that hopefully in the next round here. But we are taking the content and just kind of assembling it ourselves for the time being, because we're aggregating some other data with it too in our QVRs at the moment. But our goal is to work towards that, to be able to, same thing, be able to pull it up and click through and drill. I think that's not only to help answer questions on the fly, but there's a little bit of a wow factor too for customers, I think.
Yeah, the other scenario that I can think of that I've shared this before in different scenarios, but it's the other thing that Cognition does is around the amount of time that a ticket spends in a given status, not an escalation status. So some of you who have dug into the database will understand what I'm saying, that there's a different timer for how long a status stays. It's not the status, but the escalation status. And ConnectWise does not natively say how long was it in this given service ticket status. And so that lifecycle report was one of my clients used that, and they absolutely have done very well to win some contracts to be able to say, no, this actually was sitting waiting on you for 3 days. It wasn't waiting on us for 3 days, waiting on client. So any other questions you see there, Christy, popping up?
Yeah, we got a couple more here. Does Cognition360 have the ability to create client-facing reports as BrightGauge does? So currently we do not have a client-facing, because we're data warehouse and everything is in the data warehouse going into Power BI. The reporting would have to come from your Power BI to those clients. One of our initiatives for 2021 is what we're calling Power BI Embedded. And that is where we are going to set up where you can set up those customer portals so your clients can get in. So currently it's not available, but it is one of our big initiatives. A lot of our partners are asking for that. So hopefully by the end of this year, that will be available. Next is the data warehouse. Let's see. Is it based on a storage model or throughput? So we do put all the data goes into our data warehouse. So from a pricing model, we do kind of look at it, but it is based on, most of our price besides the service side of it and the consultative side of it. It is a heavily data-based model, but we do break that out for you into tiers using your ConnectWise users. And then we just have different pricing tiers depending on how many users that you have. So those tiers start at, $2.99 going up to 70 users where it would become more of a custom deal. So hit me up afterwards if you're interested in knowing those tiers. I can get those out to you as well. So it's basically $2.99, $4.99, and then $7.99, and then custom. So we'll see where you fall in that. And there is usually an onboarding fee as well for just, which is typically just whatever your first month is. Is there any reporting on client account health? This is one where more clunky features of ConnectWise, and one more area we would like to see more development on around data for dashboarding for our leadership. We do have a lot of client-facing customer reporting through what we call our customer app. There's QBR reporting where we're going to be able to show, who's submitting the tickets from a type, subtype, and item. What are your most common issues with those particular clients? You can sort that data. If you're meeting with them quarterly, you can sort that data quarterly. We have some of our partners that are using those reports more interactively, especially now that we're in COVID and you're not meeting with them directly. Also lets you see, if you have your configurations in, what are the computers that they have and servers that they have currently. I've seen a lot of projects come out of this with Windows 7. And then also just their tickets in general. The cool thing about the reports doing it interactively is you can actually drill into that data right there with your clients to let them see, hey, this is the amount of tickets that we're seeing coming in across this, or especially if you have like one main contact, it's like, hey, why are these people submitting so many tickets? And then you click on them and you can actually see what type of tickets that they are submitting. So some pretty cool customer reporting. Also, there's customer reporting around KPIs. You can see from each individual customer, single single contact on ticket, close first contact, and also on average, how many minutes is it taken to get to those tickets? And then also down to your priority levels. How many emergency tickets did they have? How quickly did we get to them? And then actually drill into those tickets as well if you wanted to, if you have that interactively. All our reports too, you can actually just put into a PDF if you didn't want to use the Power BI function to have those ready for your QBR or VCIO type meetings.
So one of the questions here, Christy, is, or a couple of questions here at the end, talk about other data sources. Do you want to address that, or have one of the panelists address it?
Yeah, sure. I can talk to that. So right now we currently integrate. We do some automate integration for on-prem users. We're looking to get that pushed out to cloud users as well. We do have some of our cloud users that we already have on it. We're betaing it with them. And then also we have a partnership with Datagate. So if you're using Datagate to bring in costs onto the agreement side, we have partnered with them to bring in all those costs individually to get the agreement profitability of all your telco charges. This year, another one of our initiatives is to bring on other integrations. One of those that we're looking heavily on right now is bringing in reporting with QuickBooks. Other than that, it's really, if it's in ConnectWise, we can report on it.
Awesome. I guess another thing that I thought was unique about Cognition360 is that, are you still, I'll ask you, Christy, the question. I'll ask a question to you. Are you still, as part of the demo process, pulling in the client's database or data? If they want to, they can say, yes, please do that and show me my data as part of the demo?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a great way to see the product without actually having to purchase the product.
Right.
We love doing the demos with your live data because it lets you actually see our reports with your data, with what it looks like. And even if you decide after that demo, okay, we're not ready or this isn't for me, which doesn't happen a whole lot. I would say our percentage rate for closing, getting new clients after they see the product it's actually really high. But you always come away with nuggets from that data because we're able to show you data that you didn't realize. It's like, wow, I didn't realize that this person was working this much, or that this person was way more efficient than this person, or this person's working 15 tickets a day where this person's 10 and they have the same job. And then you can see by the minutes why that person is more efficient. We can even show reporting on the average time to first time entry. So a little different than your SLAs in ConnectWise, we're able to show you, hey, if a ticket goes in at 8 o'clock and then isn't worked on until 10, even if they put that time in at 5 o'clock, we're going to let you see those averages to see, how quickly your engineers are starting to get to tickets, which is really helpful to see if you're running hot, for instance. If you want all your service desk tickets, answered within 2 hours, or if you're like Trevor and you want them answered within like 30 minutes, you can actually see that data and look at trends to see if you're starting to run hot or if you need to have an increase to the to your team, or what team that is. We can sort your data by different teams. You can look at trends. You can look at periods over time. My experience, also MSP background, operations, having to pull reports. It was really hard for me to look at data over trends. We used Bright Gauge. We used, had some of our own reports created. And it was always hard to be able to see time periods, to see how we were, we're putting all this work into play, but how is it really helping us? So that was my, for me, biggest win with Cognition is, wow, I can actually see this trend data now. With demo, we usually only pull in about a year's worth of data, but it's still, you're able to see, a ton of those business insights, right from that demo, as to different areas or levers that you might want to start pulling to improve your efficiencies and profitability.
I think it was about 7 minutes. I think it was about 7 minutes into my demo that I actually put a text message out to the rest of my team that was on the demo and said, where do I sign? And that's because the demo is so powerful, because you do have so much information at your fingertips so quickly. And again, I didn't have to go build it. So I really appreciated that. And, for my implementation and in the demo side, one of your engineers, Eamon, he was amazing. The knowledge that he has about ConnectWise might be more than I've ever found with anyone at ConnectWise. I mean, he just knows and understands the software that well that, you know, I haven't met anyone at ConnectWise that seems to know it as well as he does. So that was a huge win for us as well.
Yeah, a question just came in. I second that about Eamon and the team. I don't think it's sales data on opportunities and agreements. Yes, is the short answer is yes. I know we're getting close to time, Christy, so I'm happy to hang out and answer more questions, but I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I want to say thank you to Kevin, Brad, Trevor, you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Christy, for letting me be here and be part of this. And then I'll turn it back to you to wrap us up or hang out some more.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. So we do have another, I wanted to end with a poll. If you guys wouldn't mind answering this poll for me really quickly. And then also wanted to let all of you know about a special offer we have for everybody that has attended today. So as a thank you, we're offering a 30-day free trial if you sign up for Cognition360 by May 1st. I'll have a slide to throw up here in a second once everybody's, looks like everybody's in now. So it looks like, yeah, over half of you would like to see a demo. That's awesome. We'll make sure to get in touch with you to get that set up. I love showing data. I love helping out MSPs. It's one of the reasons I came to Cognition360. I love helping MSPs and helping them on that journey to become more profitable and more efficient. So I can't wait to work with all of you as well. I'm going to go ahead and end this poll now, and wanted to share my screen here just to make sure that you guys do have the information for this particular special. So you can see there to get the deal, just send, you can go to info@cognition360.com/C360-webinar. We also have all your information as well, so we'll be sure to reach out to you. And anybody, if you have any questions at all, again, I'm the Partner Success Manager here at Cognition360. There's my address for you on the screen. I would love to talk to you. I would love to set up, even if you don't want a demo right now and you just have more questions, I would love to chat with you about those as well. So I will turn it back over to Bjorn here to, let's see, let me stop sharing. We do have about 35 people left on here. So if anybody will stay on a few minutes longer. So if there is any other questions that you guys have and want them answered here, we can stay on. If not, thank you all so much for attending. I hope it was helpful and I hope it was a great use of your time. And let's see here if we got any other questions.
Can the panelists, I mean, the participants, can they talk?
Yeah, I think I can have them talk. Let's see.
Anybody wants to jump on live?
I think they have to like raise their hand or something. I have to allow them to talk individually.
I'm gonna have to jet.
Yeah.
But,
Thanks, Kevin.
it's good talking to you guys again. Yep, definitely. And let me know if you need anything.
All right. Thank
See
you,
you guys.
Kevin.
Take care, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Same here for everyone. Take care, everyone.
All right, Brad.
Thanks.
Take care.
I've got a few minutes I can stay on.
Thanks, Trevor.
So Trevor, have you started on the sales stuff? I don't know if that person's still Bryce. I don't know if he's still on or not, but
I have started some. You know, there's so much data that it's, I've been going through the service side of it just from a costing standpoint and really understanding where all of that is. But I have looked into the sales side and it's pretty powerful. I can look at opportunities. I can go in and look at churn rates. I can look at when agreements are, you know, when we have large deltas, like we've, you know, with the churn rate, we had a large drop off in this particular agreement for some reason for this client. So it allows me to drill into it right there. So that's been really helpful. But outside of that, from a sales and management side, I have not spent a lot of time on that piece yet.
yeah. And I see Bryce is still, at least he's still logged in. So Bryce, I think the other part of this is when I was looking at it from this perspective, opportunities, I consider the opportunities the hub, kind of where things start rolling down the hill. And for me, I call them SKUs, but product IDs, everything you sell is represented as a SKU on the opportunity, right? So whether it's service, agreement, materials, or whatever flavor, whatever you are going to deliver to the client needs to be represented as a SKU. So I know that Cognition, at least at one time, was doing a lot of work around that. And something else that was brought up is project profitability and project trending.
Oh, good.
A lot of work has been done there as well. So. Yeah.
Sue, I see you on here. Sue is our director of marketing and sales. She's the one who got all of this put together. So thanks, Sue, for getting this put together for us. She worked super hard to get those attendees in. We had such a great turnout. I'm super excited about how successful this was. And all of you are able to talk now. So if anybody does have any last minute questions, feel free to start talking and we can get those answered for you.
Nobody wants to talk.
Nobody wants to talk.
Game over. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you all again for joining. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week and have a great weekend, and look forward to working with you.
Thanks, Christy. Take care.
All right.
Bye, Trevor.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.